Good afternoon and welcome back to the County Council session. We're going to kick off the afternoon with a proclamation recognizing Trans Day of Visibility by Councilmember Stewart. If you're here for this proclamation, please move forward.
Thank you. All right, everyone, come on down. Glad to see everyone here today. As the council president said, we are here for a proclamation for the Trans Day of Visibility, and we're glad to see so many people here. I'm Kate Stewart. I'm the District 4 rep, and my pronouns are she, her. And before we get started, we have so many people here. Good to see you. You snuck in. I didn't see you before. We're just going to have people quickly say their names, pronouns, and what organization they're representing today. So.
Greetings. I am Wes Woods, pronouns they all, and I am the Director of Programs and Marketing for Living in Truth and Mocha Pride Center, Inc.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Olu Adebayo. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm the Executive Director at Rainbow Place Shelter.
Good afternoon. My name is Shane Hennies. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm the Program Director for the Rainbow Youth Alliance.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lee Blinder. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the Executive Director of Trans Maryland. I'm also the Chair of the Maryland Commission on LGBTQI+ Affairs.
Hi, I'm Leo Whitkind. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm the Community Engagement Manager at Smile.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Philip Alexander Downey. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm the CEO of the Montgomery County Pride Family, Mocha Pride Center, Inc.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amina Johnson. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the LGBTQ liaison in Montgomery County.
Hi, my name is Lyric Brown. My pronouns are he, him, and I am a Programs and Outreach Coordinator for Montgomery County Pride Family.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is James Bridgers. I am the Director of the Department of Health and Human Services, and my pronouns are he, him.
Good afternoon. I'm Sean O'Donnell. My pronouns are he, him, and I am the Deputy Chief for Public Health Services in Montgomery County.
Good afternoon. My name is Lori Carabea-Aquino. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Chief of Children, Youth, and Family Services at DHHS.
Good afternoon. I'm Aiden Jolson. My pronouns are they, them. I'm the MoCo Reconnect and Youth Action Board Coordinator with Collaboration Council.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Laura Rodriguez. I use she, hers. I am the social worker for MoCo Reconnect, working for Pathways.
Good afternoon. My pronouns are she, her, and ella, and I'm Monica Martin. I'm the Chief of Behavioral Health and Crisis Services in the Department of Health and Human Services.
My name is Kieran Schott. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm the high school intern for Trans Maryland.
Hi, good afternoon. Keisha Davis, she, her. I am your Montgomery County Health Officer.
I'm HG, they, them, and I'm a therapist intern at EveryMind.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us today. You guys can squeeze in, too. I'm just going to kick us off before turning over to Lyric and just really thank everyone who's up here today. Trans Visibility Day is a day of celebration. It is a day of joy. It is a day that we come together to support each other, and it is so important. And I know we say this a lot right now, that celebrating and coming together and resisting is more important than it ever has, but that is really true right now. And joy and coming together is really a terrific form of resistance. And I want to speak now as an ally and a mom. And how important it is to remember to be joyful and thankful for the joy. I talked to my son this morning and asked him if I could repeat this story, and he gave me permission. So when he was transitioning in high school, we talked a lot. We checked in and kept asking him, like, how are you doing? You know, we know this is hard. And finally one day he's like, yeah, some parts of it are hard, but it's great. He got to wear a tuxedo to prom that fit him and his body. He had the best summer he had had in years, the spring after he transitioned. And he reminded me of the joy of being who he really was. And he told me, don't forget that. You can ask me how I'm doing. We know it can be hard. He said, but it's also really joyful. And so he reminded me that again today. And the other thing, one of our favorite poets, my son's a poet, that we share is Andrea Gibson, who unfortunately we lost this year. But one of my favorite quotes from her is, "Whoever you are and whatever helps, I hope today is a day where you find the softest way through." So today, when we celebrate our community, when we remember to be joyful, let's also give each other grace and hope we find the softest way through. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lyric, who is amazing in our community and throws an incredible family and friends dinner that I've been able to participate in. So, Lyric.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lyric Brown. I am privileged to serve as a programs and outreach coordinator for the Montgomery County Pride family. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm also honored to be one of the 94,000 transgender people living in the great state of Maryland. Today, as we gather to celebrate Trans Day of Visibility, it's essential we recognize the power of visibility itself. This day is not just about acknowledging the existence of transgender and non-binary individuals. It is about uplifting their voices and celebrating their lives. The Montgomery County Pride family stands as a beacon of hope and support within our community, dedicated to uplifting and supporting transgender people at every stage of their lives. The center embodies the spirit of community, reminding us that we are not alone in our journeys. As we celebrate today, let us not only radiate the spirit of Trans Day of Visibility, but reflect on the ideals that it embodies: love, patience, and joy. It's through acts of kindness and acceptance that we can create a world where every individual is valued and respected. Thank you all for choosing kindness and acceptance over hate and rejection.
Thank you so much, Lyric. And now we'll hear from Olu.
Good afternoon, all. Once again, my name is Olu Adebayo. I'm the executive director at Rainbow Place Shelter. All right, so that should do. It's an honor to stand with you today in recognition of Transgender Day of Visibility, a day that calls us not only to see, but to truly affirm the dignity, humanity, and lived experience of transgender individuals in our community. Visibility matters because too often, those who are most vulnerable remain unseen. Not just in our systems, but in our policies, our conversations, and sometimes even our compassion. And when people are unseen, they are too often underserved. At Rainbow Place, we are reminded every day that many of the individuals we serve exist at the intersection of multiple forms of marginalization, including gender identity, housing instability, and economic hardship. For transgender young adults in particular, the path to stability is often made more difficult by rejection, discrimination, and limited access to safe and affirming spaces. As we work to develop our young adult shelter, we are intentionally building a model rooted in dignity, inclusion, and opportunity. A space where every young person, regardless of identity, is not only welcomed, but respected and supported in their journey forward. Transgender Day of Visibility challenges us to move beyond awareness into action, to ensure that our systems are not just accessible, but affirming, not just available, but equitable. Because at the end of the day, how we treat those on the margin says everything about who we are as a community. Today and every day, may we commit to seeing one another more fully and to building a world where everyone has the opportunity to live safely, authentically, and with dignity. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do want to again thank all our partners here, our nonprofit partners, and I think almost our entire DHHS leadership is here. And that means, I think, so much to us and our community that you all are showing up. So thank you so much for that. All right, I'm going to read the proclamation. Whereas March 31st marks the annual International Transgender Day of Visibility, founded in 2009 by Rachel Crandall Crocker, a licensed master social worker and activist, to raise awareness and celebrate the joy and resilience of transgender and non-binary people. And whereas although members of the transgender community contribute to the growing diversity and prosperity of our county and across the world, they face violence and discrimination every day. And whereas everyone can play a part in reducing the mental health and social disparities for the transgender communities by educating yourself on transgender lives, history, terminology, using correct names and pronouns, respecting privacy and confidentiality. And whereas approximately 2.3 million adults identify as transgender according to the data collected by the Household Pulse Survey, and whereas it is imperative that we take the necessary steps to create an inclusive, welcoming, and gender-affirming environment, especially when health, rights, education, and social service needs are being threatened on the federal level. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland hereby recognizes International Transgender Day of Visibility presented on the 24th day of March in the year 2026, signed by myself and Council President Natalie Fanning Gonzalez. Thank you all, and let's do a picture.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And this is why Montgomery County continues to be an amazing place to live. Thank you, Councilmember Stewart, for all your work in recognizing Trans Day of Visibility. With that, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, and it's agenda item number 6. It's a public hearing and action on a resolution to approve supplemental appropriation number 26-53 to the FY26 operating budget, Montgomery County Public Schools, Blueprint for Maryland's Future Career Advising Program for $400,693, source or funds, MCPS assigned fund balance. Council action is scheduled immediately following this hearing. As a reminder, our public hearings testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you are testifying and are appropriate for a public meeting. You will hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by their allotted time. We have 3 speakers. The first 2 are in person. Please come forward. Rimai Kime and Mr. Kumar. Is he here? Yeah, Mr. Kumar, come forward, please. No, Mr. Kumar, we have you right now. If you can please come forward. Yes. So I see that Ms. Rime, did I say that right? You have 5 minutes because you're also speaking for item 8, which is the Eyes Out Act, right? So if you can please start, you have 5 minutes starting right now. You can go ahead. Can you please turn on your mic and state your name right on top?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council members. My name is Rima Gurmai, and I'm a junior at Walt Johnson High School. I'm here today to speak in strong support of both the ICE Out Act and the supplemental appropriation for the blueprint for Maryland's future career advising program. Although these may seem like two separate issues, they ultimately come down to one question. What kind of future do we want to build for young people in Montgomery County? A friend of mine had his father taken and detained in a facility in Baltimore County. While detained, his father was given a bull to use the bathroom, denied access to a lawyer, denied proper medical treatment, and cut off from his family. That is just one story, one glimpse into a system affecting over 70,000 people as of mid-January. So I want to ask you directly, if you oppose this bill, is this really what we want to invite into Montgomery County? Even the possibility of a detention center in our community changes the way students think about going to school. It forces us to question whether or not we will be safe when we walk into our building every morning, and whether our families will remain home when we return. We cannot undo the harm that has already impacted hundreds of families, but we can decide what kind of environment we want to create moving forward, one rooted in fear or one grounded in safety, dignity, and trust. Passing the ICE Out Act is about making a clear decision that Montgomery County will be a place where students and families feel protected, not threatened. And that brings me to my second point, ensuring students are ready for their careers. Because while some students are questioning their safety, others are questioning their future, and many are doing both at the same time. That is why our schools must be places where students not only feel safe, but also feel prepared, supported, and empowered. This past summer, I participated in the MCPS Summer Rise program, where I actually had the opportunity to intern with Councilmember Sales. Through that experience, I worked in a professional environment, built connections, and most importantly, gained clarity about a path that I want to pursue in the future. It gave me direction, it gave me confidence, and it gave me access. The proposed investment promises that every student, regardless of background, has access to guidance, opportunity, and a clear path forward after graduation. Right now, that access is not equal. Some students have strong support systems helping them navigate applications, internships, and career pathways, while others are left to figure it out on their own. I often say that MCPS's diversity is our biggest strength. But when it comes to differences in opportunity, especially when those differences are preventable, that's when I see it as our biggest weakness. If we truly believe in equity, we must invest in systems that make opportunity accessible to all students, not just those who already know how to find it. As a current candidate for MCPS's student member of the board, I've spoken with students from all across this county, and I can tell you, we are not lacking in ambition, we are lacking in consistent access and information. That's why these two issues are connected and why they matter so much to me and to so many students. We cannot talk about preparing students for the future without also ensuring they feel safe enough to imagine one. If we want students to succeed, we must also protect them and invest in them. I urge you to pass the ICE Out Act, and I urge you to fund college and career readiness in Montgomery County. We must show students in this county that their safety matters, their futures matter, and that Montgomery County is a place that stands with them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Mr. Kumar. For 5 minutes, as he's also speaking for item 8, which is the ICE Out Act. Go ahead, Mr. Kumar.
Is this on? Yes. Okay. Thank you, Montgomery County, Maryland Government Council, for this opportunity. Honorable Council President, Ms. Natalie Fanny Gonzalez. My name is James Dhruva Kumar, JD Kumar, Democrat candidate for U.S. Congress, House of Representatives for this Maryland District 8. I'm here to provide my input regarding this MCMG Bill 13-26 ICE Out and also MCPS Supplemental Appropriation 26-53. I'm not prepared. Another complicated week for me due to abuse by the Latin American and Central American illegal undocumented community again. I'm not going to go into detail of what they did last week and what they did yesterday, but they did show up at my apartment door, which is a temporary residence, because they abused us at the condo where my mom and I were living a year ago, and they showed up without IDs again. I requested ID. They wouldn't present it. I asked for names. He said I didn't need to know their names. They're apparently selling some kind of internet service, and when I asked for names, he wouldn't provide it. And so I said, I'll call the police. He said, F the police, you can do whatever you want, and he walked away. I have all this on video. Now, regarding this 13-26 ICE Out, first of all, your title is idiocy. What do you mean by ICE Out? ICE is a government institution, like, very controversial. Part of the reason they're controversial is because of everything you all do. I don't have an opinion. I mean, specifically, you don't want them to build private facilities. Now, these private ICE companies, these contractors, they make a ton of money. They have VC investors and so forth, and we all know that we hear terrible stories about conditions and so forth. So that's something you have to investigate. In general, I would say businesses, commerce, if there is a good legitimate business and they want to look for facility, there's also this issue about NIMBY, not in my backyard type of thing. So that is a separate issue. But your title itself, ICE out, what do you mean by that? How about I say Montgomery County Council out for things that I don't like that what you do? So now, bear in mind, because of everything y'all do, and for a few years you haven't solved my issue, I'm not prepared this time. For what happened yesterday, I had to call Montgomery County Police, and a lot of them are crooked. They're trained by County Elridge to be crooked, so that's what they are. Now, the problem Latin American illegal undocumented community, I call PCG, problematic callous group, they, I already read this part. Now, all your policies and acts, they will continue, how much time? 2 minutes. All your policies that continue the flow of Latin American and Central American illegal undocumenteds here. They must come credentialed. We need a government-sponsored labor shortage website, local and national. Allow USA Americans to apply first, then the rest of the world. If you want to protect those migrants that have lived here for years, who I call EIMC, pending civil rights adherence certifications, then you will modify your approach, your methods, and how you implement these acts, your statements, your press releases. Let me be clear. These policies, if you do not emphasize that violating our immigration laws is not acceptable, then you will also cause problems for EIMC people's present and future established immigrant, migrant, now I call merit communities. You will cause problems for them. They will all be classified as the same when they're actually established in our communities. Not fair to them either. On that note, I do not define EIMC for only those that have held jobs or are working. Any migrant that has been here for substantial time, and this can also be defined smartly or generously. I do not state this because I'm a caregiver for my elder mom this past decade. I state this because I love people of all backgrounds. And as long as you make our community happy, then you belong here. If you don't, then you need to be treated for whatever issue you have, mental illness, ignorance, etc. Now, I want to talk about these supplemental MCPS. You recall last week or whenever it was, I talked about what you're teaching these kids. What are you teaching them? You are not turning out model citizens. You are turning out problem kids all through the zone who are just disgruntled. A lot of them don't have the foundation for the higher skilled education. So here's what I want to tell you. We come from an advanced lineage, ancestral lineage. We are the founder investors, founder emeritus, my home country, India, our peoples, our specific lineage for the establishment of the original colonies, the USA wealth. Now, a lot of the migrants that have come here came here to a lone surviving superpower, a country that already established manifest destiny, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, high HDI, Human Development Index, skyscrapers, north and south.
Thank you, Mr.
left,
Kumar. Your
coast
time
to
is
coast.
up. Thank you
They
for
have
being
not built this country, ma'am.
Thank you for your time. I'm going to move on.
They have not built this lone surviving
superpower.
superpower.
The next person who registered is virtual, but she's not available right now, so we're going to move on. This public hearing is now closed. Now for the action on this item. Is there a motion to approve supplemental appropriation number 26-53? Moved by Councilmember Wojawando, second by Council Vice President Balcom. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It passes unanimously. Agenda item number 7 is a public hearing and action on a resolution in support of Montgomery County's application for redesignation of the Wheaton Arts and Entertainment District. And I said that with passion, and that was on point.
Where is it?
Council action is scheduled immediately following this hearing. As a reminder of our public hearing testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you are testifying and are appropriate for a public meeting. You will hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by their allotted time. We have one speaker, Mr. Nestor Alvarenga, who is the director of the Meade County Regional Service Department. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead, sir.
Hello. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon, Council President Natalie Fanny Gonzalez and members of the County Council. My name is Nestor Alvarenga, and I'm presenting this testimony on behalf of the County Executive in support of this resolution. I want to start by thanking Council President Fanny Gonzalez for your continued leadership and strong support and commitment for the arts in Wheaton, including supporting the growth of our arts ecosystem through the establishment of Creative Wheaton. I also want to thank the Wheaton Urban District Advisory Committee, WUDAC, for their ongoing guidance and advocacy. This resolution supports Montgomery County's application to the Maryland Department of Commerce for the redesignation of the Wheaton Arts District. And with this designation, Wheaton has held this designation since 2006 as it nears its expiration. This resolution provides the council's required support for the county's redesignation and application for the next 10 years. Wheaton's designation stands out because it certain traditions, arts, culture, and shows up in everyday life. We live it, we breathe it. It's present. You cannot avoid it, and especially around the food. And it's not just your traditional formal venues. And this resignation is critical, not just because Wheaton will soon be home to the county's new Arts and Cultural Center, because of the full ecosystem we have built and continue to grow. We are activating public spaces through the events like the Taste of Wheaton, which last year transformed a parking lot into a vibrant mural. The Wheaton Arts Parade continues to define our identity through iconic pyramids, our Friday night concerts, our community concerns, and our community concerts in the heart of Wheaton to celebrate local artists, MCPS students, youth through both performance and public art, including the mural of the steps of the Marion Fryer Plaza. And we invest in the public realm through a pedestrian cross light along Price Avenue, sidewalk improvements, enhanced pedestrian lighting to create more walkable, vibrant, and safe district where arts and culture can thrive. Wheaton's identity is also shaped by its cultural landscape, from pupusas to gyros, to banh mi, to local botanicas that provide medical herbs and devotional items that tie to cultural and spiritual tradition across Latin America. You do have to visit if you haven't been. This is what traditional art looks like in Wheaton, living, evolving, and deeply connected to the community. On behalf of the county executive, I urge the council to adopt this resolution in support of the redesignation of the Wheaton Arts and Entertainment District. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I know.
Look at that.
Girl, there you go. I don't know about the budget. Let's not talk about the budget right now. We will now move, and this public hearing is now closed. Thank you so much. We will now move on to the action portion of this item. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Moved by Council Vice President Marilyn Balcom. Second by Council Member Lori Ann Sells. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It passed unanimously. Thank you so much. Moving on, item number 8 is a public hearing on expedited bill 13-26, Building Permits Immigration Detention Facility, ICE Out Act. This bill will define an immigration detention facility, prohibit the issuance of a building permit or a use and occupancy permit for a privately owned immigration detention facility, and generally amend the law regarding the approval of an immigration detention facility. An Economic Development Committee work session is scheduled for April 10th, 2026. Those wishing to submit material for the Council's consideration should do so by the close of business on April 2nd, 2026. As a reminder of our public hearing testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you are testifying and are appropriate for a public meeting. You will hear a tone where your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by their allotted time. There are some folks who are going to have 5 minutes instead of 3, and those who are coming for 5 minutes are the ones who are also going to speak for item number 9, which is the public hearing expedited bill for 14-26, the motor vehicle towing redemption of vehicle. So, proof of ownership or control. The Vehicle Recovery Act. I just wanted to mention that. Please do not clap, do not boo anybody coming forward to testify. With that, we're going to start with, if you hear your name, please come forward. Emilia Garcia Pina, Ignew Kaur, Leslie Jamileth Diaz Monge, Susan O'Callaghan Davis, Roland Rolly Smith. And let's just start with it. And Emily Garcia. Who's Emily? Is that you? Is that you, Emily? Okay, if you can please turn on your mic and state your name on top. You have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Garcia Pina. I'm the daughter of immigrant parents and a middle school student. A middle school leader in Student Fair countywide. Today, I want to speak about two important bills: the ICE Out Act and the Vehicle Recovery Act. The ICE Out Act matters because many families in our communities live in fear. As students, we see how this affects our friends, classmates, and neighbors every day. As some students worry about whether their parents will be there when they get home from school, or if something might happen to them while they're away. Everyone deserves to feel safe and respected, no matter their immigration status. This bill protects our county and community by preventing private immigration detention centers from being built in Montgomery County. The Vehicle Recovery Act is just as important. When a loved one is taken, families are already going through pain. They shouldn't have to deal with overwhelming paperwork just to recover their vehicle. For many families, a car isn't just transportation. It's how they get to work, take their kids to school, and support their daily lives. This bill makes that process simpler and more fair. I may be a middle school student, but I know what fairness looks like. I know what compassion looks like, and I know that our community is strongest when everyone feels safe. I respectfully urge you to support the ICE Out Act and the Vehicle Recovery Act, not just for families like mine, but for the future of our entire community. These bills aren't just about a policy, they're about what kind of community we choose to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Very proud of you. Ignore core.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Iknur Kaur, and I am currently a senior at James Huber Blake High School. Today, I'd like to share with you all my favorable stances on the ICE Out Act, as well as the Vehicle Recovery Act. Montgomery County is one of the most diverse counties in all of America, and the fact that we could potentially have immigration detention centers be built in our communities is devastating. It is no foreign idea to any of us that these detention centers aren't taking hold of criminals, but they are tearing apart families. They are leaving people in fear of going on with their daily lives. All across America, these immigration detention centers are being built, and innocent members of our society are being forced into these inhabitable spaces. With inhumane living conditions and little to no access to their loved ones, people are essentially being tortured in these facilities. We don't want these facilities to be built in our areas. The fact that we can go to school, go to work, hang out with our friends, but next door a facility could be built to keep people in terrible living conditions is sick. Even if this bill doesn't stop detention centers from being built, it can do so much for our community. Most of these immigration detention centers are privately owned, and the rich continue to get richer through locking up our neighbors and classmates. If our county can do everything in its power to limit the influence these detention centers have, then it can be done through this bill. You all sit in seats of power today and can choose to do the right things for your constituents. So I urge you all to prevent these private facilities from being built in our county, because honestly, they are just unethical and prevent our community from functioning to its fullest abilities. It is honestly terrifying that people getting snatched off of the streets by ICE enforcement is common in this country. As a student and a civilian, this current administration is making everyone's day-to-day lives a burden to go through. The fact that our classmates, our parents, even our own selves, can be taken in a heartbeat is unfortunately a reality for so many of us. This doesn't just stop at people, but their possessions. When civilians are kidnapped by ICE enforcement, their vehicles are left behind with keys missing and towing fines, adding another issue into the lives of families that are losing everything. Families shouldn't have to worry about the state of their loved ones' possessions on top of worrying for the safety of their own lives, or if their loved ones are even okay. Limiting the access that ICE enforcement has on our community can allow students to go to school. It can allow women to get help for domestic violence situations, and it can allow parents to work and bring home dinner for their children. It allows people to live normally, because what we're seeing and experiencing isn't normal. Finally, I can speak not only for myself, but so many others in Montgomery County when I say that the current issues we are facing as a community should be addressed as soon as possible. There should be no waiting for other jurisdictions or when the time is right. The time to be acting on what is happening in front of all of our eyes is now. We don't want to hear about another student who stopped coming to school because they're afraid of being detained. We don't want to hear about another friend whose family member was taken from them and all that was left behind was a destroyed vehicle. We don't want to hear any more bad news. What we do want to see is change, and that change starts here today with you council members. So I urge you all to say yes to these bills today and act on them as soon as possible. Please protect our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Leslie Yamilet Diaz-Monge.
I'm so sorry. Good afternoon. My name is Leslie Yamilet Diaz-Monge, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. To begin with, our city should not allow immigration detention facilities. These buildings do not bring safety, they do not bring justice, they bring fear, they bring trauma, they rip families apart. For immigration families like mine, suffering does not begin with detention. It begins with the moment someone they love is taken away. Imagine this. In a single moment, a parent, a sibling, a spouse, a child is gone. No warning, no time to prepare, just panic, confusion, and terror. Families are left asking impossible questions. Where are they? Are they safe? Do they have their medication? How do we find a lawyer? How do we tell their children? How do we keep our lives from falling apart? And while families are trapped in that nightmare, the system piles on more pain. Their loved one's car is left in a tow lot, collecting fees every single day. That car may be the only way to get to work, to take their children to school, to buy groceries, to simply hold life together. But because the detained person is often the only one listed on the title, the family cannot access it. They cannot use it. They cannot survive without it. This is not bureaucracy. I said that wrong. Sorry. That is cruelty. It is cruel to demand impossible requirements from families in crisis. It is cruel to let fees pile up while children lose their transportation they rely on. It is cruel to punish people who are already terrified, grieving, and struggling just to survive. A car is not a luxury for them. A car for them is survival. And this trauma isn't just emotional. It has measurable effects. Children held in detention centers have been reported and suffer from distress so severe that some cut themselves or talk about suicide while being held in family detention centers. That is why this bill is very important to me. Passing the ICE Out Act and the Vehicle Recovery Act is not just a policy, it is a moral. It is a choice to refuse complicity in systems built on cruelty. It is a choice to stand with families instead of tearing them apart. It is a choice to value humanity over punishment, community over fear, and compassion over bureaucracy. Immigrant families deserve safety, and they deserve to have access to transportation. Families deserve dignity, compassion, and protection. Not fear, not cages, not cruelty. I urge you to pass both bills. Thank you for your time and attention. ICE has made so many of us question our worth. It has made us afraid to exist, afraid to speak, afraid that our lives are not seen as disposable. But no system should ever have the power to make human beings feel less human. My neighbor was recently detained. He was restrained and taken away like he was less than human. Watching that happen is something no family, no child, no community ever have to carry. Also, when he got detained, his parents, well, his mom, mind you, she has no job, no nothing. She's a single mother. She has 2 newborns and she has like a 7-year-old. Mind you, while her kids, they had school and everything, she couldn't tell them. She couldn't tell them what happened, and she would have to say, "Oh no, don't worry. He's just going to the hospital. He's getting checked out. He's sick." Like, imagine having to tell your kids that their parent isn't coming back. Honestly, that's just cruelty. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Next, Susan O'Callaghan Davis.
Good afternoon, Council President Fanny Gonzalez and council members. I'm Susan O'Callaghan Davis, a retired teacher and librarian and nearly lifelong resident of Montgomery County. My husband and I are members of St. Camilla's Catholic Parish in Silver Spring, and I volunteer with Action in Montgomery, among many other things that I can do in retirement. I am very grateful to have this opportunity to speak in support of Bill 1426, the Vehicle Recovery Act, and Bill 1326, the ICE Out Act. Before I continue, I am moved to thank these wonderful students whom we have all just heard. I am moved to tears. It is an honor to share this testimony time with each of you. I am filled with hope for our future in the midst of these horrible events that are taking place. I thank you so much for being here and for your eloquence and commitment to your communities and families. St. Camilla's is a majority immigrant parish with members from Central and South America, West Africa, Haiti, Ethiopia, and Bangladesh. It has been my honor and privilege to forge connections and friendships with many immigrants in the parish through our shared participation in music, service, study, and prayer ministries in the parish, and volunteering at St. Francis International School, a regional pre-K through 8 school located on the St. Camilla's campus. And inspired by Councilmember Stewart's remarks at the very beginning for Transgender Visibility Day, I would like to say how joyful it is to be a member of St. Camilla's Parish. The friendships that I've made there have enriched me immensely. It is these personal connections that are the foundation for my advocacy in support of all initiatives offering protection to immigrants in this perilous time where their safety and dignity are under assault. One parishioner from Central America who led a weekly prayer group was detained last fall with no crimes, nothing at all. He's being detained in Louisiana, leaving behind his wife and children, the youngest under 1 year. There are so many others, as we all know, in this situation of injustice. Bill 1426 offers practical expansion of pathways to recover vehicles when the owner is detained. Many times that vehicle is a work van, so that not only the vehicle is lost to the family, but all the tools of the trade that enabled the business and family income are lost. This bill mitigates the economic loss to families. It is not possible to prevent the arrests, but this is one protection among so many needed under current threats to liberty and due process. Bill 1326 prevents establishing detention centers in Montgomery County by prohibiting the approval of building and occupancy permits, as you well know, as you have proposed the bill. This prevents the expansion of detention capacity in our county. Again, it is not possible for Montgomery County to exclude ICE and all its actions that harm so many of our residents, But this is an exclusion that is possible and flows from the commitment to the safety and well-being of all residents. We cannot be complicit with the erasure of the shared humanity of our neighbors in this county. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your commitment to mitigating the attacks on the well-being of so many county residents through unjust federal actions. I urge you to remain intensely vigilant in proactively espousing all ways in economic, legal, health to support residents in this emergency situation. To paraphrase Martin Luther King Jr., an attack on any one person's dignity and safety is an attack on everyone's dignity and safety.
Thank you. Next, Rolly Smith.
Yes, thank you for allowing us here, and I am too in awe of the students that I share this with. My name is Rolly Smith, and I live at Asbury Methodist Village for 12 years now, and in Tacoma Park for 3 years before that. We came to Maryland to watch our grandchildren grow, but we came to Montgomery County for its values, which have been demonstrated here today, just beautifully. I've been a member of Gaithersburg Beloved Community Initiative, which many of you have supported, and all of you, and Action in Montgomery. I speak in support of these two bills because they put limits on ICE actions to remove and harm our neighbors, who we consider are good citizens of our jurisdictions. Both laws embody and pursue the principles on which our nation was founded, and this county and this state act on the principle by protecting rights for all its people who live here and follow its laws. In my time as an immigrant from California, I relished the fact that all immigrants were afforded the means to flourish here, no matter their origin or status. You treated all of us as equal citizens as we took on the responsibilities of citizenship in the various jurisdictions in which we live. Happily, I know these two bills will pass, just by the number of sponsors. The way ICE operates, though, has caused fear and pain on a group of our neighbors who now need special attention, protection, and support. Like the time of the pandemic, this is a crisis, and I'm sorry to say, we need more from you. Some of us are working with Montgomery College on a program to develop standards of good citizenship in our jurisdictions and to provide opportunities to demonstrate these standards in their own communities and to receive the recognition, the local recognition of good citizenship, and then hopefully a path to national citizenship. So I took this opportunity to ask you to work with us, and you'll hear more about this, as a long-term and positive approach to this crisis that we are now in. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming today. I'm going to move on to the next panel. So we have Nicole Eisern, Nancy McKierney, Christopher Cannell, Christine Reeser, and Deborah Miller, and Viviana Lozano. We are going to start with Ms. Nicole Eisern. And everyone but one person speaks for 3 minutes each. Go ahead. You can go ahead, Ms. Nicole, please.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Nicole Izern. I am here representing the local mutual aid group, Montgomery County Immigrant Rights Collective. We are a united collective full of hundreds of immigrants, children of immigrants, and allies, all alarmed by the state of our the state of our country. We've come together due to the urgency created by the Trump administration to show up in solidarity for our neighbors whose lives have been traumatized and dismantled. As many of you have seen in a viral video, the following details are clear. A cell with 50 other men, no beds, aluminum blankets only for sleeping, a single inedible meal, a cookie, and a single water bottle, 10 days without a shower, without a change of clothes, in a room full of strangers that reek, sleeping right by the toilet, no access to medication, refills, health providers, or even their own lawyer. Those are already the heinous conditions occurring right here in Baltimore, Maryland, treating over 51,000 innocent people across the country without criminal records like animals, dehumanizing them. We as a collective are horrified by the detention centers in the works in Hagerstown. We already feel like we're living in a battle zone, seeing images of federal vehicles and videos of detainments every single day. Having a detention center in the county would only make things worse. We don't need more detention centers. We need this nightmare to end, not to prolong and expand it. It's disgusting that our tax-paying dollars are going toward these despicable actions. A third of the FBI right now has been reassigned to immigration enforcement duties. That's a third of FBI agents working to detain our hardworking mothers and fathers instead of hunting down real criminals. 70% of detainees have no criminal record. We don't want a detention center here that incarcerates 70% of innocent people. ICE's website still states immigration detentions are civil, not criminal in nature. It also states that detentions will be a safe and secure environment, not a punitive one. Tell me why so many people are losing 20 pounds and developing new health concerns and more while in detention if they're so safe and secure. It's going to be our tax-paying dollars either supporting these horrific conditions or paying for all these medical needs that wouldn't have occurred outside of detention. No, their cruelty is not welcome here. It's draining to even be up here arguing the matter. So I urge you to vote in favor of this bill for the thousands of families, including children, whose lives have been ruined. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Nancy McInerney.
Yes. Hello. Good afternoon. I'm Nancy McInerney, resident in Long Branch neighborhood in Silver Spring. I have kids in PS schools, and I'm here to advocate for those less fortunate than me, a white middle-class woman. I'm here in support of the ICE Act, Bill 1326, which would prohibit privately owned ICE detention facilities from opening in Montgomery County. I am humbled by Emily, Icknor, and Leslie's testimony so far. Thank you for being here. I applaud the sponsors of this bill that recognize our county's law in place that prevents for-profit prisons. I support this proactive approach to restrict privately owned immigration detention centers from getting a permit for one in our county. We have seen in Baltimore County how ICE is running detention centers, putting our residents, our neighbors, in overcrowded rooms with sufficient food and water. We know this to be true because of the invaluable work our mutual aid groups are doing to support the families that live in your districts. We have seen in Virginia that for-profit prisons are dangerous, with all of them coming under state control in 2024. Privately owned prisons are paid by the state per inmate, which creates overcrowding and ultimately understaffing. The net worth of for-profit prisons is $1.7 billion in the U.S. The ACLU states that the largest for-profit prison company, CCA, is under criminal investigation by the FDA FBI for falsifying guard post records. The Idaho Department of Corrections identified inadequate staffing as the primary cause of violence. Religious groups also oppose private prisons because of the lack of rehabilitation for inmates. For some reason, there are different training standards for for-profit prisons than state-controlled ones. This seems eerily similar to ICE agents, with the agency cutting the number of training days for new recruits in half. For some reason, council members, we have seen how ICE is treating our neighbors in detention centers in Maryland. Can you imagine our friends and neighbors, women and children with no criminal record, being held in a for-profit detention center owned by a publicly traded company with shareholders making money off of them in Montgomery County? We all agreed that we do not make money off incarcerated people in Montgomery County. We must all agree that we will not make money off of our non-criminal neighbors. Our land and resources must be focused on activities that uplift our communities and serve all residents. There is no benefit to the residents to allow permits for privately owned ICE detention centers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Christopher Cano.
Thank you, Madam President. Honorable members of the Montgomery County Council. My name is Christopher Cano, and on behalf of SEIU Local 500, which represents more than 20,000 workers across Maryland, including thousands of educational support professionals and family child care providers in Montgomery County, I urge you to pass Expedited Bill 1326. This legislation is a clear statement of values that Montgomery County will not be complicit in the expansion of private immigration detention systems that harm workers, families, and communities. And many of our members are immigrants, come from immigrant families, or serve immigrant communities every day. They're bus drivers, paraeducators, cafeteria workers, and child care providers, trusted adults who support children and families across this county. And when immigration enforcement escalates into detention, it sends fear rippling through classrooms, homes, and workplaces. But let's have a clear moment of honest conversation about the current administration's immigration policy. It's not about public safety. It's about turning a federal deportation machine that is engaged in a racist, state-sanctioned human trafficking campaign that is corrosive to our Constitution into a profit motive for a core civic and geo group. ICE and CPB have built enforcement regimes that rely on racial profiling, suspicion without evidence, and fear without accountability. Black and immigrant communities are targeted, families are torn apart, and due process is treated as an inconvenience rather than a right. That is not law enforcement. That is state-sanctioned discrimination. The ICE Out Act addresses this harm at its root by ensuring that Montgomery County does not permit the construction or operation of privately owned immigration detention facilities. And by prohibiting building permits and use and occupancy permits for these facilities, the county is taking a proactive step to prevent the expansion of a system that too often prioritizes profit over human dignity. Private immigration detention facilities are part of a broader system that has been widely criticized for unsafe conditions, lack of transparency, and the erosion of basic labor and human rights. Workers in and around these facilities, including contracted staff, often face poor working conditions, low wages, and limited protections. That is not the kind of economic development that Montgomery County should welcome. Instead, the council has consistently led with policies that promote inclusion, worker protections, and community stability, and passing this bill continues that leadership. More importantly, this bill does not interfere with federal law. It simply affirms that the county's authority over land use and permitting decisions. It ensures that local resources are not used to facilitate a system that undermines the very communities that our members serve. For SEIU Local 500 members, the stakes are real. When families are torn apart by detention, children don't show up to school, and if the ones that do are traumatized. Child care providers are losing enrollment overnight. Educational support professionals are left to pick up the pieces without the resources they need. This bill is about preventing harm before it starts. Montgomery County should be a place where all families are welcome, regardless of their status, and can live and work without fear.
Thank you. Next, Christine Reesor.
Good afternoon, council members. I'd like to speak in support of ICE Out, and my name is Christine Reesor. I use she, her pronouns. So I've been a county resident, Montgomery County resident, for nearly 30 years. Before that, from 1985 to 1994, I lived in El Salvador, and I worked with people internally displaced by the Civil War. I witnessed firsthand how a conflict funded by the United States shattered lives and communities, contributing to a massive outflow of refugees, many of whom landed in this area. After leaving El Salvador and becoming a nurse practitioner, I worked for 15 years, eight of those years in this county, serving uninsured immigrants, many of whom were undocumented or had temporary protected status. Some of them I had known in El Salvador. They were among those who had fled war and social disruption. Most everyone I treated was working hard in our community, caring for children, preparing food, landscaping gardens, cleaning houses, or starting small businesses. They did not have health insurance, many didn't have necessary documentation, but most were paying Social Security taxes from which they would never benefit. Our nation needs immigrants to sustain local economies, and our public resources should be invested in comprehensive immigration reform that welcomes our immigrant neighbors and acknowledges their contributions to our culture and economy. Instead, for the past 14 months, we've witnessed the mobilization of a mass secret police force that indiscriminately disappears our neighbors into the black hole of immigration detention. These masked ICE patrols remind me of the terrifying death squads that roamed El Salvador during the Civil War, bundling their victims into SUVs with no warrant or legal recourse. By all means, detain and deport violent criminals with due process, but fewer than 14% of those arrested by ICE in Trump's first year back have violent criminal records. The mass deportation of immigrants who robustly contribute to our Montgomery County's economy and culture is a terrible mistake. So I urge the county to take every measure possible to keep ICE detention centers out of our community and to continue to provide support to immigrant communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Deborah Miller, who's speaking for 5 minutes, as she's also speaking for 14-26. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Council President, Vice President, and Council members. I'm Deborah Miller, the Director of Maryland Government and Community Relations for the JCRC of Greater Washington. We represent over 100 social service agencies, synagogues, and schools, serving not only the Jewish community, but all county residents, including these remarkable young women who spoke earlier today. I am here today in support of Expedited Bill 1326. The ICE Out Act codifies what many of us, including the JCRC, already believe, that hate has no place in our county and no place when it comes to accessing resources. This bill prohibits using new or existing buildings as privately owned immigration detention facilities. Most importantly, though, it tells immigrants in our community that we hear you, we see you, and we won't stand by nor be complicit in the face of terror and inhumanity. I'm also here today in support of Expedited Bill 1426, the Vehicle Recovery Act. The Vehicle Recovery Act is a much-needed piece of legislation as we witness alarming numbers of immigrants detained and forced to leave their vehicles behind. If they're towed and family members are not on the title, they can't recover the vehicle. Our Jewish values demand that we pursue justice and we speak up with moral clarity to defend the rights of the vulnerable among us. As we approach the Jewish holiday of Passover, we remember our community's persecution and expulsion from Egypt. We know what it's like to be threatened and othered just because we were not born in this country. In the face of today's new threats, the JCRC has been partnering with organizations like Identity, the Amica Center, and CASA to protect immigrants and help impacted families. The Vehicle Recovery Act and the ICE Out Act are both practical solutions for families whose loved ones have been picked up by ICE agents on their way to work, dropping their children off at school, or even showing up for an immigration-related hearing. These bills tell immigrants that we are here for them, to stand up for their rights, to ensure they receive due process, and to fight for their dignity and respect in the face of unimaginable cruelty. We urge you to support both pieces of legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Viviana Lozano.
Good afternoon, Council President Fanny Gonzalez and members of the Council. My name is Viviana Lozano, and I am the Deputy Director of Organizing of We Are CASA. On behalf of CASA and the thousands of immigrants' families who call Montgomery County home, we kindly ask for your support to pass the ICE Out Act. Right now in Montgomery County, families are being torn apart at a pace that we had not seen before. In Maryland alone, more than 4,000 people were arrested by ICE in 2025, an increase of over 300% from 2024, a sharp increase in enforcement that is directly impacting families in Montgomery County. At CASA, we see the immediate impact of detention every day through our organization, legal service, housing work, and health service. Within days, sometimes hours of a detention, families walk through our doors in distress. A mother trying to understand how she will pay the rent without a partner. A teenager asking how to care for younger siblings. A family bringing and unopened bills, knowing they had no way to pay them. Detention does not just take one person. It destabilizes an entire family and community. It removes a parent from the dining table, a work from the job, and a source of stability from a household. What remains is fear, confusion, and impossible decision. Our CASA attorneys work with families already facing eviction because the person who held everything together is gone. Our healthcare teams are supporting children who cannot sleep, who are struggling in school, who are trying to process the sudden disappearance of a parent or a sibling. For immigrant communities, even the idea of a detention center is a very heavy weight. It represents the place where loved ones are taken and families are torn apart. It's a place associated with loss of freedom, loss of a loved one, loss of stability. A detention center in the community here in Montgomery County will make fear a part of a daily life. It will weigh on families constantly, shaping where they go, how they move, and whether they feel safe at all. It will be erode trust in institutions and deepen isolation with communities that are vulnerable.
Thank you so much. You can send the rest of I love you, but you know, I had to treat everybody the same.
Thank you.
But thank you for your testimony. We have the next 4 virtual speakers. Only 2 showed up, and we're going to start with Abby Janamanchi. Is she? He's on. Mr. Janamanchi, can you hear me? No? Reverend Janamanchi, can you hear me? Uh-oh. Can you see him? Can you unmute? And if IT can please make sure that we can see them, that would be great. If you hear me, say yes. No. Is he unmuted? Can you unmute yourself? Maybe he can't hear me. I'm gonna go move on to the next person while we work with him. Montgomery Gujan, is that person on? When? Montgomery. I don't see. Can they hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, can you please? Thank you. Can you please proceed? You have 3 minutes.
Sure. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Jean Montgomery, and I'm a resident of Montgomery County. I am here to urge you to support 1326, the ICE Out Act. As you know, this law prohibits Montgomery County from issuing a permit for privately owned immigration detention facilities within our county. It defines immigration detention facility as any building, facility, or structure used to house or detain individuals for civil immigration violations. Let us be clear. There is an urgent need for this legislation. All persons under our Constitution are granted its liberties, right to due process, and equal protection under the law. ICE does not obey the law. Its agencies and agents are reckless, lawless violators of our constitutional and human rights. ICE and its agents illegally enter homes and property. They illegally search, seize, kidnap, transport, imprison, and concentrate our neighbors into camps that do not adhere to basic principles of health, safety, or humane sanitary care. For these reasons, it is imperative that we proactively and preemptively write laws to protect ourselves and do our part to grind the gears of ICE operation to a halt. I personally care about this issue because I have a close loved one who almost died in a cramped, concentrated prisoner of war re-education camp. Through faith, luck, and asylum law, he was able to escape political and religious persecution to seek refuge here in the United States, like the vast majority of immigration asylum seekers. He also became a contributing member of our community, becoming an active member of our area Catholic Church, fulfilling a workforce shortage by repairing medical technology for several of our area hospitals, and raising family members who became public servants and business owners themselves. Migration is an act of courage. Seeking asylum is a human right. Marylanders and leaders of Howard County resoundingly said, ICE out of our communities, when they revoked a building permit for a privately owned detention facility in Elkridge, Maryland. Marylanders and Washington County residents said, ICE out of our communities, by protesting and showing up at county council meetings and speaking out when they learned of ICE plans to convert a warehouse not fit for human habitation into a detention center. Our own Maryland Attorney General said, ICE out of Maryland, when he successfully sued DHS and ICE, temporarily halting that same construction of that building. This is our moment to be brave, moral, and preemptively and protectively cloak our neighbors and ourselves in law. Vote in favor of 1326. Resoundingly shout, ICE out of Montgomery County. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Montgomery. We're going to try again with Reverend Janamanchi. He's still on, right? Reverend, if you can hear me, please unmute yourself.
Yes, I can.
Go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
All right. Thank you. Good afternoon, Council President Fanny Gonzalez and members of the Council. It's great to see you all again. My name is Reverend Abi Janamanchi. I use pronouns he and him. I am a Montgomery County resident and I serve Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Bethesda. I'm here to speak in support of Expedited Bill 1326. Over these past few months, I've sat with families across this county who are carrying a steady fear. Parents wondering what happens if they're taken away. Children asking questions no child should have to ask. People weighing every day whether it's safe to go to work, to school, to the doctor, or to worship. You see, fear doesn't need walls to spread, but when we build systems around it, it settles in and it becomes a part of daily life. And this is what detention does. It takes human beings and sets them aside, out of sight, out of reach, and sends a message that some lives can be contained, managed, and made invisible. And that kind of belonging is conditional. And I've seen the impact of that, of family members taken overnight and moved far away, where contact is extremely limited and hope wears thin, and communities reshaping their lives around staying out of view and trying not to be noticed. This bill draws a clear line. It keeps ICE detention centers and their contractors out of our county, and it says we will not turn our spaces into places where people are held simply for seeking a life here. It protects our neighbors from practices that erode dignity and fracture families. In every faith tradition that I know, there is a simple teaching: welcome the stranger, not just in words, but in actions with our hands and our hearts. In my own Hindu tradition, we say, Atidhi Devo Bhava, the guest is God. The one who arrives at your door is not a problem to solve or a threat to eliminate, but a person worthy of care and support. And that teaching does not stop at the border. It follows us into moments like this and asks, will we open the door or will we turn people away? And today that question is before you. Whether Montgomery County will allow its systems to be used in ways that diminish human dignity, or whether we will say clearly no. This is about refusing to build the infrastructure of harm. It is about showing through your actions that the people who live here matter. Because we can choose to be a place where people live safely, where they seek help when they need it, where they trust they will not be taken and disappeared into a system far from home. I urge you to pass this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. With that, this public hearing is now closed. We're going to move on to item number 9, public hearing, expedite bill 14-26, motor vehicle towing, redemption of vehicle, proof of ownership or control, the Vehicle Recovery Act. This bill will specify procedures governing vehicle redemption, require towing companies to accept alternative documentation that establishes ownership or lawful possession, establish indemnification requirements associated with vehicle release, provide enforcement mechanisms for misconduct related to the release of impounded vehicles, and generally amend the law governing motor vehicle towing and immobilization on private property. A joint Public Safety and Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee work session is scheduled for April 15, 2026. Those wishing to submit material for the Council's consideration should do so by the close of business on April 2nd, 2026. As a reminder of our public hearing testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you are testifying and are appropriate for a public meeting. You will hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everyone abiding by their allotted time. We have 3 people to speak. Mr. Pablo Blanc, Ariel Woods. Those are the 2 in person. And we're going to start with Mr. Pablo Blanc. Each person has 3 minutes. Go ahead, sir. You can start.
Okay. Thank you, Madam President Fanny Gonzalez and members of the County Council. My name is Pablo Blanc. I am the Director of Film and Integration with We Are Casa. I would like to take 30 seconds for a personal remark. Today marks 50 years since my home country Argentina last coup d'etat, which opened the door to the darkest period in the country's history, one that left 30,000 social advocates kidnapped, tortured, and killed and disappeared, and more than 500 babies whose identities were stolen. So being here today, petitioning for a bill before elected officials in a democracy, is deeply emotional for me, especially during a time when our federal government is targeting vulnerable communities, and some of us are already living in those situations that happen in Argentina. Let us all commit to doing everything in our power to always protect free and fair elections, and for our local government to stand with and protect immigrant residents. We Are Casa strongly supports Bill 1426E. Not only does it help people recover what is often their primary family asset, a car or a working van, but it also supports them during some of the most stressful moments of their lives. Immigrants often face significant barriers when trying to prove their identity or establish family relationship. At We Are Casa, we encounter these challenges every day as we assist our community members. If your car is towed and you are able to retrieve it yourself, the process is manageable. But what happens if the registered owner has passed away, is hospitalized after an accident, or is in the case detained and facing deportation? In those moments, families, already under immense stress, are forced to navigate complex bureaucratic processes to prove both their identity and their relationship to the vehicle's owner just to recover it. This bill addresses that gap. It clearly outlines a set of accessible documents that family members can use to establish identity and relationship. For example, a foreign passport that is already accepted by federal and state agencies. We Are Casa is very grateful to Council Member Kate Stewart and County Council for this bill. We also encourage the Council to strengthen the bill by expanding the list of acceptable forms of identification to include students' IDs issued by NCPS and Montgomery College. Many young people face barriers to obtaining photo IDs, such as passport or consular IDs. Students are often the only forms of identification really accessible for them. Families also face significant challenges in obtaining foreign documentation, particularly records that establish family relationships. Birth and marriage certificates, for instance, are typically issued at the municipal level, and securing copies from abroad can at times be nearly impossible. For this reason, we recommend strengthening the bill by adding tax returns where all the families are listed in them. So thank you so much for your time, and we will continue working with you on this.
Thank you so much, Mr. Blank, Pablo Blank, and I also want to echo remembering the 50th anniversary of a coup d'etat that was one of the bloodiest coups in Latin America. It's important, and I thank you for uplifting that. We got to remember our past so we can move forward with our future. So thank you. We're going to move on with Ms. Ariel Woods.
Thank you. My name is Ariel Woods. I'm here representing MoCo IRC, and I'm also a Tacoma Park resident and a mom. I want to thank Kate Stewart for introducing this bill, which is another creative way of supporting our immigrant community. On behalf of IRC, I work with rapid responders, where I look through some of our notes, and since the beginning of this year, we have responded to over 50 abandoned cars, and our priority is always to try to return that property to families as fast as we can. It's often challenging, and we're trying to do it before the tow trucks get there. One reason is that ICE is also trying to get these cars towed as fast as they can. One example is where they took the car and then parked it in front of a fire hydrant and left the lights on, so the battery was dead by the time the family got there. In another case, they put it in front of a fire station so that it had to be towed immediately. The reasons for that, the cruelty is the point, and they want those cars to be unreachable by those families. Usually what we find are work trucks. They are full of a life's worth of investment. Power tools of all kinds, ladders. One just this morning reminded me so much of my dad's truck. They sometimes also have personal items. There was a van that I responded to where it was in a downpour, and just a family minivan, and both windows had been busted out of the front, and there in the cubby was a child's butterfly hair clip that was covered in broken glass. If I'm lucky to be a U.S. citizen, I'm lucky to own my own car, and the car is in my name only. If that was taken, if I was arrested by federal government, I would still be held here in the state of Maryland. I would be able to get this weird little plastic bear that my daughter loves, named Maurice, that protects our car back to her, because I would be able to sign documents and return our vehicle to her care. That is what our immigrant neighbors are being deprived of. And I just really appreciate the ways that y'all are trying to help our community, and to every council member who comes and says, what can we do? What will help? We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. We're going to move on to the virtual section, and we have Tacoma Park Police Department Captain Matthew Muzzatti. I see you. There you go. Thank you.
All right. On behalf of the Tacoma Park Police Department, we support Bill 14-26 because it addresses a gap in the vehicle redemption process that we're seeing play out in real time. As it stands now, when the registered owner of a vehicle is not available, there's often no clear or reasonable pathway for a family member or responsible party to recover that vehicle. That can leave residents in a difficult position where access to their property is effectively out of reach despite legitimate ties to it. This bill creates a structured, common sense framework that allows for alternative forms of documentation to establish ownership or lawful control, while still maintaining important safeguards against fraud and misuse. It also provides clearer expectations for towing companies and enforcement, which helps reduce inconsistency and conflict across the process. From our perspective, this is about fairness, clarity, and practicality. It recognizes real-world situations our residents are facing and provides a balanced solution that protects the integrity of the process while ensuring people have a reasonable path to recover their vehicle. And for those reasons, we support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Captain. And with that, this public hearing is now closed. Thank you so much for everyone who joined us today. We're going to move on to the last item of today's agenda. It's a continuation of the council's preliminary review. I'm going to say that word again. Preliminary review So don't get too excited until May, okay? Of the FY 27-32 Capital Improvements Program. We're going to move on with the general government, county offices, and other improvements. I'm going to ask the chair of the GO committee, Chair Stewart, to please kick us off.
Great, thank you. I think our Department of General Services is coming down, and before I turn it over to Mr. Mia, I'll give a recap of the Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee review. I'm going to do both items D and E on our agenda, the county offices and other improvements and other government together. So first, under the county offices and other improvements, a CIP, in this subcategory, it's recommended for a total 6-year funding level of $172.7 million. That's actually a 7.9% decrease from the previously amended CIP funding level. This reduction is primarily due to pending closeouts of the MCPS bus depot and the maintenance relocation project, which has been fully appropriated to fund the construction of maintenance and parking facilities at long-term lease sites in Rockville. The committee unanimously recommends approval of the general government, county offices, and other improvement CIP subcategories as recommended by the county executive. This includes cost increases for ADA compliance, building envelope repair, elevator modernization, HVAC electric replacement, roof replacements, and the shifting of funds regarding energy conservation. And this funding shift is due to re-estimated implementation schedules for BEPS-related projects. Other projects in the subcategory with no 6-year changes from previously approved are asbestos abatement, Brookville HVAC depot, environmental compliance issues, facility selection and facility planning, life safety systems plan, life cycle asset replacement, red brick courthouse structural repairs, and resurfacing of parking lots. Also, the committee reviewed and approved one new project in the other general government CIP subcategory. This was for the African American historical markers as recommended by the executive. Funding is provided to identify and install up to 40 historical markers, recognizing significant locations related to African American history throughout the county. An advisory committee will be established to select the locations for the historical markers. Review of all that I just indicated was done by our committee and unanimously recommended.
Does council have anything else to add?
Nothing
Mr. Mia? Okay, beautiful. I don't see anybody else wanting to speak. Without objection, we'll approve this segment of your report. Okay,
great. And next, my next DEF. Okay, yes, we're continuing. This is General Government Technology Services. And I think, Mr. Torregas, you're coming up. All right. The GO committee also reviewed technology services and recommend all projects at the level recommended by the executive to the full council for approval. In the packet, I'm going to turn it over soon to Councilmember Katz because some of these cross over into public safety. But the ones that the GO committee specifically reviewed was 3 projects. One is the county building network wiring. The county building wiring project is an infrastructure initiative designed to modernize internal cabling across county-owned facilities. So that was one area. The next is our FiberNet. The FiberNet provides carrier-class voice, video, internet access, and data networking services for county government. And the third project area was Montgomery Connects, which is our broadband program designed to ensure that businesses and residents have reliable, secure, and robust broadband services as they need to live, work, and learn and keep our economy moving in the county. Montgomery Connect works to bring broadband services, devices, and skills training to residents in affordable housing, expands access to competitive broadband services in commercial buildings to support small and large businesses, and also includes projects regarding public Wi-Fi. The committee unanimously agreed with the county executive's proposals for the CIP.
Okay, so that's F, and I don't see anybody else wanting to speak. Is there anything else from council staff on
Just a
this
very
item?
brief comment that since this is an infrastructure focus, the executive has provided an amendment to the 27 CIP that the GEO committee is scheduled to review in April, which will be on top of this. It's basically help making sure that our buildings, county buildings, can appreciate the immense power of our network. The network is great. The buildings need to be upgraded. So the faster, the better. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And without objection, we can approve item F. Then we're now going to be moving to item G, which is general government county radio life cycle replacement. And that's the one that is chaired by both Chair Stewart and Chair Katz, as it was a joint committee. I'm going to turn it to Council, the Chair of the Public Safety Committee, Mr. Katz.
Thank you very much. This radio life cycle replacement program provides a phased-in system of replacement of the county's aging public safety radio system used primarily by our first responders, including police, fire and rescue, sheriff, corrections, Department of Transportation, and airport police. Currently, these radios have reached the end of their 10-year service life. A joint government operations and public safety committee was held on March 11th and recommended unanimously the approval of county executive's recommended project and timeline. On March the 13th, the county executive sent over an amendment to this project with an updated expenditure schedule. The joint committee will reconvene on April 15th to discuss the amendment. And if with your indulgence, I'll turn to Ms. Farag if she has any additional information.
I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
Without objection, we accept the joint committee recommendation. Now we can move forward with item H, which is general government public safety system modernization, also a joint committee work session between public safety and government operations. If the chair of public safety can please provide the report.
Thank you. The public safety system modernization project had included several public safety related sub-projects, including public safety radios, computer-aided dispatch, CAD, and law enforcement records management system. All sub-projects have been completed with the exception of the LERMS, which is the records management system, which has been shifted to a standalone project, Police Enterprises, RMS, which was discussed by the Public Safety Committee on March the 2nd. The remaining funding for the law enforcement records management system is $1.757 million will be transferred to the new standalone project to complete implementation of the system. Public safety systems modernization is pending closeout. The joint government operations and public safety committees met on March 11th and recommended 5-0 approval as submitted by the executive. And with your indulgence, I'll turn to Ms. Farag again, please.
The same. You've covered everything. Thank you.
Excellent job. So without objection, we'll move forward. Thank you. Now we're going to move on to item I, Public Safety, Fire and Rescue Service. Back to you, to the Chair of Public Safety.
Thank you very much. Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service have 10 active projects in the CIP, totaling $157.2 million. There is an increase of $23.1 million, a 17.2% increase over the last CIP, reflecting the addition of a new project, which is the self-contained breathing apparatus project, and cost increases to several others. This is partially offset by the completion of the breathing air compressors replacement project and fire station refurbishment project. Individual projects include the apparatus replacement program, keeping on top of ongoing replacement of fire apparatus and vehicles, reducing the risk of expensive replacement spikes, and having dependable apparatus at the ready. Industry backlogs have not only increased costs, but are also time for arrival of apparatus ordered with a wait time for FY26 orders of about 2 years. Rockville Fire Station 3 renovation project has one-time funding contribution from the county that has been delayed until FY28 as the station continues to look at land acquisition and other details for this project. The county continues to maintain the current building, and the station is scheduled for a roof replacement in FY27. Self-contained breathing apparatus replacement is a new project, acquiring equipment used by firefighters in a structural fire event. Face pieces have exceeded the current 10-year warranty, and other parts will expire by the end of this year. The White Flint Station number 23 will be a new 5-bay station at the corner of 355 and Randolph Road. Construction is expected to begin in FY27 and be completed in FY29. Additionally, there are 5 level of effort projects that are included in the MCFRS CIP. I want to thank Ms. Farag for a thorough packet and turn to her and anyone who's here from the fire department for any additional information that might be needed. If I'd have looked up, I'd have seen who was here from the fire department. Ms. Farag.
Thank you very much. I just did want to note, Chair Katz, that there is a March 13th county executive amendment for the apparatus replacement project. I believe it's just a funding switch from short-term financing to current revenue. The Public Safety Committee will take that up as it takes up the fire department's operating budget later in April.
Okay. Anybody else? We're good? I always say take yes for an answer. We're good, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for all your work. And without objection, we accept the recommendations from the committee. We are now going to move to item J, Transportation Mass Transit. I'm going to turn it to the chair of the T&E Committee, Mr. Glass.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I'll wait for the MCDOT team to come up, but the committee recommended concurring with the executive recommendations, all of which are in the packet on mass transit, but there were 2 exceptions. One, the committee recommended unanimously amending the Transit Park and Ride renovations project to remove the funding beyond 6 years, as that had been erroneously added. And then the more substantive conversation was with regard to bus rapid transit on US 29. The committee with District Council Member Mink, who joined us for that discussion, we requested that MCDOT develop a study with various different options to mitigate the Four Corners area moving forward. This may require changing the project and changing the funding, but we will pick this back up at a committee work session on April 27th. And so that part is to be continued, but everything else has been agreed upon unanimously.
Thank you so much for that work and for your, on behalf of the committee, and I see Council Member Krista Mink.
Thank you to the chair and to the committee and to DOT for a good conversation on an issue that's obviously very important to much of the county and much of my district as well. And just wanted to share additionally with the full council and for the benefit of the millions of US 29 ridership watching from home, that we did discuss language, looking at language hopefully for the PDF that would state that DOT would study those options, and that is the hope, is to see that language in the PDF itself, and with the study to include having Four Corners be in mixed traffic, having a single median lane through Four Corners instead of the dual median lanes. And I'll note that I believe the committee agreed that the managed lane option wouldn't be feasible at this point because it would be it would require a change basically to the entire project. And additionally that the construction, and also wanted to note and thank Director Conklin for also agreeing to include in that analysis cut through traffic for the various alternatives that are there. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Anything else from the chair of the committee? The chair of the committee? Okay. No. Council staff, anything else? Okay, so without objection, we're moving forward. Thank you so much. And with that, everyone, this meeting is adjourned.